Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching 72 News, and I'm your host, ShoaibZaidi. This is our weekly show, Current Affairs with Malik and Pitman. And every week we were discussing what happening in this world and what can be a reason of everything what happening. I would like to welcome Professor Pitman with me in the studio, and Dr. BernardMalik will join us very soon. There is a technical fault, and he will be various with. Professor Pitman, thank you very much for your time. Every time you are weekly spending your time with us. Today we are going to have agenda about U.S. riots and what happened there. Donald Trump impeachment and many other things also. Maybe we'll discuss also cricket at the beginning. The riots which was observed at the time of the power transfer in US. These in history, these kind riots or reaction after the election in in the civilized country, let me allow me to say US, Canada, US, UK, Australia. Did it happen earlier also, sometime in history?
Certainly not in recent history in Australia. We sort of have, if a Prime Minister loses the election, that's the end of them, and they leave office, and the new Prime Minister comes in, is sworn in by the Governor, and there's probably not a transition period quite like the Americans, but certainly when the government goes to election, they can't make any major decisions. So basically everything, they call it a transition period, but essentially the government doesn't get involved in enacting legislation or anything other than basically keeping the government going. So what occurred in America, you don't normally see here in Australia. There has been one or two incidences where there has been riots and demonstrations over policies, and particularly university students, but certainly not a demonstration at Parliament House that actually takes over Parliament House. Most of them are peaceful. They'll have placards and speakers outside Parliament House, but certainly not to the gravity that the groups at Capitol Hill were involved in last week. You wouldn't see that here in Australia.
And let's say it's coming to the US also. Does it happen first time in Europe in US history, or it happened earlier also?
They're saying that on the media reports that it's only ever occurred once before, but that was with the British who were based in America, who burnt down Capitol Hill. So probably a slightly different type of riot, but certainly not of its own citizens, not like this one where their own citizens broke into the premises. And of course there were a number of deaths, and certainly breaking into offices, and to a degree taking property out of the building which they weren't entitled to take. So that's something that I think is standing out as a major hurdle for Donald Trump, who perhaps didn't use his words correctly or appropriately when talking to his followers.
Right. So, okay, if it's coming back to this situation, what do you think that who could be the responsible of this? The people itself, the party, or the leader, Donald Trump?
One of the difficulties for Donald Trump, and having been a police officer who worked on the front line of riots and demonstrations several times here in Queensland, most people are pretty peaceable about it, but then you have agitators. I call them agitators, people who want better media coverage to push their own agenda, and who see violence or aggressive behaviour as a way to make a political statement. So there's a lot of research and a lot of books on demonstration behaviour that shows that there is within the demonstration group a range of attitudes and behaviours. Then you have the President of America making comments, and I think he was targeting probably more the peaceful demonstrators who were voicing their concerns over the elections and those sort of things. But of course, there was another group or groups within there that took it more literally. So I think the groups or the types of groups you have mentioned are probably all responsible, and collectively the results show that that's what happened. Leadership, the group, the demonstrators, everything
Professor Pitman, so, yeah, everything combined. So it is right. But do you think that the time when it starts and the whole world media is just looking at them, but there seems to be there was no control. The things are going by its own. The people are just trying to use, and nobody is stopped. So there are two big failures. Number one, the people from the protester, and the second one is people from the administrative systems. So there was, if you see, there was no real control on the system. Nobody stops, and they move in more and further more and more and more inside.
Look, there'll be a lot of questions asked about the security of Capitol Hill. They obviously knew beforehand that there was going to be a demonstration, but didn't set up any barricades or processes to reduce the number of demonstrators on the building. So
right.
That will be a serious concern on the breach of the security. As for the demonstrators, perhaps the intelligence from the police probably was lacking as to the groups who were there.
Right. I think Dr. BernardMalik, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How are you?
Yeah, very good. So I think, thank you very much. First of all, Dr. BernardMalik, I can't see your video, but I hope that you must be in.
I am actually.
So we were
myself.
Yeah. So we were discussing about what happens in last week in US, and I just asked Professor Pitman that it was failure from the controlling side or it was failure from the protester. What is in your opinion?
Look, whatever happened on Capitol Hill was very regrettable. In US is looked at as a temple of democracy. Anytime I was discussing with Professor Pitman the other day, and he said, anytime you give an example of mature democracy, anytime you give an example of a supreme law and order, you always quote United States. So what happened was unacceptable, was condemnable. Now we need to sit down and analyze what were the reasons for it. Having said that, it is very shameful that US intelligence, which is so good at everything, could not have predicted what would happen.
So because look like it was happened first time in the history of US, but Malik Sahab, what exactly leading these protesters? What exactly leading the power transfer was an issue for them, or there was an issue from the Joe Biden parties that why and the way they comes, because that was the comments raised by the Donald Trump also.
Look, a lot of factors contributed to it. I think you
Mr.
must.
Malik, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You are you are possibly well aware. Few months ago, Black Lives Matter, there was demonstration, and there was so much violence on the street, and so many businesses were destroyed. So the rowdy elements had a free hand in destroying American systems. And technically, nobody was indicted. In fact, they came out and said, Democrats came out and said, oh, let's reduce police. Police is irrelevant. So that time people got encouraged. So they developed. Earlier, there was a fear of law and order. People are afraid of police. You know, a policeman can walk up to the crowd of 100 people and chase them away. It's not because he's a mighty man, it is because there was a respect built for a figure in authority. What happened at Capitol?
Right.
I'm sorry. What happened at Capitol Hill was lack of respect for authorities. I think President Trump's veiled support also contributed to what happened there.
Right, right. So in this case, Mr. Malik, if the protest was so, first let's make it very simple. Do you think the protest was a right way while the power transfer was in place, or it's too late now?
Oh, protest was wrong. It should not have happened. And regardless of what happens, once all the states have confirmed it,
yeah,
people should have accepted it. President Trump, though how bad he felt about it, should have the grace to accept it. Then try to come back again in the next term. You would notice many a times you go to court and you would know judge gives a verdict against you. You may be right. Judges always don't decide on the merit of justice. They decide on the merit of evidence. And if the other party can make up the evidence, they can win the case. But the aggrieved party, the party that loses, doesn't take to violence. They accept it with the grace and try to find other means of expressing their displeasure.
Then Dr. Bernard, then the message from Donald Trump also, he did not reject, or he did not rejected the move of the people, and that's ultimately goes against of him also. Do you think?
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think the bitterness that has come in race relations, the bitterness that has come between Democrats and Republicans, the divide that has come, is largely contributed by President Trump's behavior and rhetoric. Right from the start, he's been very, very bitter.
So I have with me Dr. BernardMalik, who's a very good supporter to Donald Trump. How is he looking now, this move of Donald Trump as a leader?
Look, I admire him as a guy who did well for the country. Yeah. He was a CEO of the country, and he was not the president. He ran the country like a businessman, which is good for the country. But unfortunately, I think you also had to act presidential after you become president. He did not carry the grace of expression. His rhetoric was that of a cowboy.
So, Professor Pittman, he served as a CEO, not as a president, but still there are a lot of people that are expecting him to come back. How are you looking at the last portfolio and then the time which he served the US, and what are the bases that he can be back?
I think Donald Trump has indicated he wants to run for president again. I think he may have some hurdles to get over this time because of Black Lives Matter, what happened at Capitol Hill, and perhaps his vindictiveness. There is a view in America that many of the women voters weren't happy with his aggressive behavior and language. So he will have to get over the vote of the women to become a president again. I think the other difficulty he's got is he's appeased a minority group on the far right, But having said that, the far left won't forget. So there will be ongoing recriminations against him and his behaviour and what he's done. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a series of government activities occur which may cause him problems in courts and taxation laws and all sorts of things. And as one senior executive said to me, be nice to everyone as you go up the ladder, because you don't know who you're going to meet when you're coming down the ladder.
Yes.
And
Wonderful.
I think Mr. Trump may have some problems coming down the ladder and who he may have to deal with.
Right, right. Professor, Dr. BernardMalik, as he already mentioned that there was a lot of things that happening. Now, do you think that it is also mentioned in the media that he is going to be under impeachment trial? Just few weeks he will be out from the system. So do you think that he has to go through the impeachment trial, and what exactly Joe Biden would like to achieve from this impeachment trial?
You're asking me?
Yes.
I think impeachment trial is a bad example at the moment. They should
really?
not do it. Democrats should show grace. All they're trying to do is, please understand, President Trump has gotten more votes than before. There are 7-8 million people that have voted for him and are very passionate about him. Right. Joe Biden did not win with a massive margin. He just won with very slim margin. So his mandate is not great. I understand if Joe Biden won by 40% or 30%, then he can say, I have a mandate. Joe Biden doesn't have a clear mandate. Now, Nancy Pelosi wants to impeach Trump. First of all, yes, the impeachment process will not be complete because Democrats have only 50 senators. And it is going to go to tiebreaker with vice president. Vice president, being Trump's vice president, will not vote for the impeachment, however upset he is with the president. And I think all they're going to do is make more people upset, make more people unhappy, and then simply hand over presidency to Trump in 4 years.
So it might possible this trial may work as a foundation stone for the Trump, for return of the Trump, correct?
That's right, absolutely. You impeach him now. See, let us see. Okay, Trump may have a bad mouth. He may not be very polished in his approach. But Trump delivered on his promises. Whatever promises he made, he delivered. Having said that,
Malik sir, can you share what exactly he delivered? Because we have the short memory.
Okay. When it came to President Trump, he promised better economy. He delivered. He did 30 years best in his economy. In US 30 years history, he delivered better economy, more jobs, lower unemployment, shifting the embassy to Jerusalem, sending a strong message: you mess with me or mess with the United States, will come and settle with you. If you see, ISIS has not been prominent in last 4 years. North Korea has stayed quiet. They have played under the radar. In Syria, there has been peace. So what happens, as you and me understand the language, when district has a very strong police administration, the new SSP or the new commissioner who is feared, automatically the law and order goes in its place.
In place.
So Trump has done well. Unfortunately, this whole year went in, last whole year went in coronavirus. Nobody could do anything. Right? He still poured in enough money in the economy. US economy did well. People did not get hurt. And I think that backfired him. A lot of people who were unemployed got a lot of money at home, didn't know what to do. So they took to the streets in Black Lives Matter protest and went and destroyed public property.
Right. So, Professor Pittman, Dr. Bernard shared a lot of successes from the financial side, from the job side, from the medical side, from the strategically outsourced decisions, North Korea ones. what about you? Do you think that these are the really achievements and he might a strong candidate to this profile?
Look, Donald Trump was able to demonstrate that conservative politics, which is strong on the capitalist ideology, can be successful and is successful in helping people improve their lifestyle. I think he was also demonstrating internationally that America is a country who does have the ability to influence world decisions, but also wanted others to take more responsibility for the decisions being made, including military. And whereas the Democrats, which are more socialist orientated, had swung a lot of their policies favouring not business and not families and individuals, but more the collective mind of the American people. And so the diversity was, the pendulum swung heavily from the left to the right. And whenever that happens, you always get a reaction. The sad part about what's going to happen next is that the pendulum's going to swing back the other way again. And businesses and organisations and families will have to swing back the other way. And so there's no consistency or constancy in how you manage and deal with your life's experiences, because on one moment you're at one end of the pendulum and the next you're at the other end. So environmental issues change again, businesses change again, oil, coal, all the industry that it got kick-started again will be reversed. That's the sad part about the dilemma that's now facing America, is the reversal of everything that's Donald Trump has put in place.
So this dilemma will ultimately going to be faced by the Joe Biden team also?
Well, Joe Biden, of course, has his supporters, but it's the ideology, the socialist ideology, and a lot of people who maximize their benefits from that area will see that the pendulum swings back to resourcing their benefits. Politics is really about who gets the resources. In conservatism, it's generally the business sector. In the socialist area, it's more the social services area. So Biden will have his supporters, but of course business will not be happy with the pendulum swinging again.
Right. Dr. Malik, before going to the Biden, you just mentioned about ISIS, the control of ISIS. And if you remember that last week, actually last 10 days before, there was a big incident, and which is going to be considered ISIS a move, and they killed 11 people in, very brutally killed by ISIS. So do you think that in Afghanistan and Pakistan border, so do you think that this is again look like that there's a change coming? They are freely because they believe that Trump is not in power?
Yes, absolutely. They know Trump is lame duck president now. Lame duck means he doesn't have a full authority. He's there only for a couple of weeks and he's gone. Biden, though is a very nice gentleman, is not considered a strong leader.
So do you believe he cannot control the expansion of the ISIS, and again, these extremist groups, especially the Daesh and ISIS, again, it's a big threat to the world? Yes,
absolutely. They will come up again. And you watch, you are here, I am here. You will see next 4 years, they will have hayride.
Right. Now coming back to the Dr. Bernard, Joe Biden already announced, I believe, a very soft response against Donald Trump, and I believe that he says that look like that he's trying to gain some favor, and that we can have a rehabilitation plan or healing process for Donald Trump, then he can be back to the system. How are you looking at this statement?
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that one, but generally what happens in US is there is no witch hunting. Please understand, Trump is only the 11th president, 11th incumbent president who has not won a re-election. It is general tradition that most presidents win re-elections. It is pretty much given. And then they always show very gracious attitude towards the former president all the time. In case of Trump, I think Trump was never known as a perfect gentleman, but Biden is known as a perfect gentleman. More is expected from him. If Biden also behaved the same way like Trump behaved, he's rowdy, he's vengeful, then what's the difference between both? So I think President Biden needs to control his Democrat colleagues from running the show the way they want, because it is going to affect his legacy.
Right.
So in all likelihood,
Professor Pitt,
all likelihood, President Biden would have only one term.
Yes, because of his age.
Yes.
Because of his age. Professor Pittman, as I shared with Dr. BernardMalik also, that there is a statements going on that Joe Biden sides looking that there could be a healing process for Donald Trump, so he can, rather than splitting, and as Dr. Bernard already mentioned, that if he go very rude, very strong, ultimately it might impact on his own period also. So what is the best method do you think is should be taken by the Joe Biden? Healing process or be strong?
I think Joe Biden as a person appears to be more of a diplomat and will probably be happy to just let history take care of itself. The issue is not so much him, it's some of the people around him and what they may try to influence him or others, including the Speaker of the House or the Vice President. Generally speaking, people in key positions in politics don't go on a witch hunt, but there are crusaders underneath them who will. And here in Australia, there's a classic illustration of a politician called Pauline Hanson, who was deliberately targeted not by the Prime Minister or the opposition leader, but by people underneath. So much so that she ended up going to trial and to prison, and she won her appeal and was released. So it's probably not Joe Biden that will cause him problems. It'll be others in the party machinery that will probably cause Joe Biden. And of course, it can be internally in his own party where people may feel as though they weren't treated well by him. So quite often persecution is within the ranks, or an enemy within has done this.
Yeah, there is also debates happening that if they keep away Donald Trump from the politics, it will be easier for them to lead, and he will be not having the chance to come back. Dr. Bernard-Malik, do you think that this option will ultimately may keep away Donald Trump from the politics if impeachment works, and because there is a fear that if he come back, he will come back very hard?
Look, Donald Trump is only a one man. He's not a phenomena. There is no branding for Donald Trump. And presidents come and go. Clinton was very popular president. Reagan was very popular president. Once they left, they moved on. I think the decent thing for President Trump would be to move on. And then let somebody else run the show coming back. We all have our contributions to make. I personally feel if Trump was a little more diplomatic, he would have won this re-election easy. Nobody ever thought President-elect Biden was winnable. In fact, Trump wanted everybody to vote in primaries for Biden because he said, "Oh, I can defeat Biden."
Yeah.
Overconfidence and arrogance can be your biggest enemy, not your opponent.
Malik Saab, this is our last question for this topic, and then we move forward to the Australia politics also. Now, the debate which is happening on the people, that if this is the opportunity for the Joe Biden team to keep permanently away Professor Donald Trump, do you think that it's a good time for them, and they will sleep a piece of they will be stay peace of mind? Dr. Bernard.
No. See, regardless of what they say and what you do, you might get an opponent. That's how it happens. If you see, presidentship is all the time shifting. Trump was expected to have 8 years. He had 4 years. He moved on. Biden, he's definitely expected to have 4 years. Unlike Trump, he would move on. Hopefully, Kamala Harris would go in, or I feel Nikki Haley. If you remember, she was the ambassador to United Nations. Another lady of Indian origin. She could possibly run and become a great president. Very articulate, very focused. The number of people who could come 4 years from now.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, Professor Pittman. Now, if you know that in the last 3-4 days, this Queensland has really strict COVID restrictions, and they follow it. Everyone follow it. Everyone respect the values. And it was incidentally something happened, and it was advised. And then yesterday, word of thanks message from Scott Morrison. He appreciate the patience of the Greater Brisbane. How you're looking at these things. So this is the achievement of the Liberal Federal Party, or this is the achievement of the Queensland State Labor Party?
I think Anastasia Palaszczuk wanted to continue her strategy of being seen as a strong leader. The other dilemma is this UK mutant virus, and I think there's a strong push by the federal government and the state governments to try and limit that mutant virus here in Australia. So I think the Prime Minister was thanking her more over her decisiveness to dealing with the British mutant virus as against a basic COVID strategy. I think the other thing too was, I think Scott Morris pays credit where credit's due, whereas sometimes politicians are more interested in their own political advantages and their own political aggrandizement rather than looking at the better good for the people.
So same thing, Dr. Bernard, you have the connection with the both parties. And again, Scott Morrison did not appreciate leadership. He said the public response was very good again. So directly appreciating the people. So it was the people achievements, or do you think that really last 3-4 days, the testing rate of the testing and then the seriousness from the state government was wonderful?
I think state government has done an incredible job. We have always said they got lucky. Regardless of luck or not luck, they have delivered to people a safe state. See, politics will always go on. Like if you remember, there was a case of a little girl who wanted to see her dying father, and Prime Minister intervened and requested, and the Premier said, no, I'm not going to do it. And next day she came out, oh, no matter what the pressure is, I'll keep the state very safe. Well, there is nothing she can do to keep the state safe. We had 55,000 people in Gaba Stadium, and she sat with them to watch the game. And all it takes is one person to spread the case. But I would give her a lot of credit for having taken a stand, popular or unpopular, whatever it was. She did well. Things paid off in her favor. I give credit to Prime Minister too, who by pumping enough money in people's household has kept people happy. So there were no social crimes at all. If there is no food in your house, regardless of corona or not corona, you will go and commit crimes outside. You will go and take the food from somebody else's table.
So Malik Sahab, now when absolutely when something happened, now our lifespan is coming like 3 days restriction, then 2 weeks restriction. You know, the life cycle is very restricted, and plus when the restriction is coming, especially the strict restriction is coming, the people are mostly taking everything like you already mentioned, and then the shortage of food is coming, and the people like you or your office is trying to help the people. Do you think that our life cycle is coming now this way, or maybe how long we can have these kind of life in future?
A few things I want to, if you allow me, to mention.
Yeah.
Here. Some of the interesting things that happened. Now we're talking about UK virus, UK strain.
Yes.
Have you heard that? Then you talk about South African strain. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
The moment you say Chinese strain, the whole hell breaks loose. You can't say it's a Chinese strain. COVID, right? So that's politics. Right. Okay. Every prime minister, every premier, regardless of whether Victoria, Queensland, or whatever state they are, they want to be seen to be doing something. Why President Trump lost the election? Because he took it very casual. Oh no, there is no coronavirus. Look, I'm doing this and doing that. All he was trying to do was not to scare people and say it's okay. It's very normal thing. You get flu, and then he paid the price. You know, we had election. Premier Palaszczuk wanted to be seen to be doing something. So she was very strict every day coming out. So over here, it is hard for anyone to just sit tight and say, yeah, things would take its own action. That is why as soon as we had one case, they went and shut down the state for 3 days. They want to be seen to be doing something.
Right. So it's another way that it is true that there is a restriction, but then another benefit that people can see it, that control, there was immediate measure has been taken, and that's could be a result of this one. Correct?
Yes.
Professor Pitman, I just shared with Dr. BernardMalik with life cycle. Now, if you heard about the last 3 days, people rush on the markets, they took everything, sit in the house. Then let's say before restriction is going to be normal, something comes up, which happened yesterday, and then they slightly reduce, but they still keep the restriction until 22. So do you think that life, now the human being life is going to be operated by this fashion? 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 month?
I understand the medical profession's advice to government to try and reduce the infections. I understand that perhaps things have to be done in a very timely manner. The problem is that the way they do it creates a panic or a fear in the minds of the public. And when the chief health officer says, well, look, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to lift the restriction in 3 days, I can understand a lot of people going into supermarkets and buying up food, and in this case toilet paper again, and other products, and literally stripping the supermarkets for fear not of the 3 days, but that it could be a lot longer. Then on the other hand, when you have a look at it, the problem with the COVID virus came out of a quarantine area, quite often out of pubs and other areas. And 2 weeks ago, I went to church for one of the first times in 12 months, and the following week, then I can't go back to church. And yet Dr. Bernard will probably be able to buy 20 tickets to go to the cricket game, but I'll struggle to go to church again next week. So sometimes there's not a good balance in people's freedoms and advice, and sometimes the messages send fear to people and creates a phobia of how you deal with that issue in a timely way. So the government is trying to do the right thing, but at the same time, the public seems to react to it because of the approach taken.
Right. Now, coming back to the last and difficult topic, you know that what happened in the Sydney test, and there was lots. First of all, it very well played by India, and they really saved the match. And in the history, it was one of the good second inning batting by the team. But there's a lot of incident happen from the senior players and especially the captain of Australia, and there are a lot of talks happen, and then there was some apologies letter message also there. Do you think that the tactics of the game, basically, I don't like to discuss the game, what I'm trying to know from both of you, do you think the tactics, because of the winning the passion of the winning game is push us to utilize, like they says, everything is fair in love and war. Now everything is fair in cricket also. That use the wordings, they just try to distract only the player. Only way, if we distract, then the easy to win. Professor BernardMalik, you love cricket. You've been a cricketer also, and you are following the Australian team also. And I have the Indian team representative also. Now you tell me what happened, and do you think it's a nice practice? Because then the time is coming, the team is coming into Gabba also.
I saw the incident between Payne and Ashwin.
Ashwin, yeah.
And Ashwin sort of kept stepping out of the crease for various reasons. And then I think Payne, out of frustration, had a bit to say to him about it. And then Ashwin said some things to the umpire about Payne making comments about it. And I think competition brings out sometimes the best in us, sometimes the worst. I think the other thing was that Australia's attitude towards the game of cricket, and we call it the stonewalling affecting, when you just block all day. And Australia's been prone to it. We had a famous cricketer called Bill Lawry who used to do it for hours. But I think there's a bit of pressure on cricket teams to make Test cricket more appealing to the public and to make it more presentable, both from the bowler and particularly the batsman's side of things. So Payne's reaction may have been competition, but it could have been also the issue about marketing Test cricket and perhaps the boring nature of not scoring runs for literally hours.
Yeah, that's really nice. Dr. BernardMalik, first of all, congratulations, India team really play very well, but there's a lot of thing happens. How you're looking the happenings there, because now we should be ready to welcome the Indian team in Queensland playing in Gabba.
Yes, what is happening here is, I think Test cricket is out of fashion now.
Out of fashion.
Yeah. And that is why these people get bored and don't want to give their best performance. Now, everybody, you would know why Ayurvedic medicine or homeopathic medicine are not the best ways of treating things, because they took so long. People want allopathy because you take goli andar dam jalandar. Quick fixes people want. People want quick results. Nobody wants to wait 5 days, and most of the time it ends up in draw. I didn't watch the match, but I was told there were a lot of unsportsmanship tricks there.
Yes. And actually it was.
And I'm hoping that Indian cricket team, I will be able to host them at home.
Right, that's a good news. I think it should not go live, but as long go. And last question to Professor Pitman. Professor Pitman, what you are expecting in Gabba? What should, is there something going to be changed from the Australian side, or do you think Australia will win the series in Gabba?
I know the Indian team has a lot of injuries, so I'd love to see some more of the young players. They tell me they have some very exciting young players coming through, and it'd be nice to see them involved. As for the Australians, I think the Australians have also been told to become more responsive to public criticism that they haven't performed as well. The Brisbane cricket ground is considered one of the best in the world for a result. So both teams have, I think, an equal footing to do very, very well here. And I think it'll be a very good test. And I think probably the team management has told both sides to pick up their behaviour and make it more acceptable for traditional test cricket and not be so appointed at each other about behaviour on the ground. So I think it'll be a very good test match. I'd love to see some new young Indian players involved, and I hope that the Australians start to perform a lot better.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. BernardMalik. Thank you, Professor Pitman.
Very interesting discussion.
Yes. You have something?
No, I said very interesting discussion today. A lot of topics.
Yeah, we tried to cover because lots happening there and the title of this program is Current Affair with Malik and Pitman. So ultimately, dear viewers, it's over from me. We cover 3 major topics in USA and then Queensland state's situation with the COVID. And again, what's happening next week in GABA ultimately is going to be good next show. Thanks, Dr. BernardMalik. Thanks, Professor Pitman. Thanks for your time. It's over from ShoaibZaidi, and we will see you next Tuesday with the same topic, current affair with Malik and Pitman. Thank you very much. It's over from ShoaibZaidi. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.